Okay, and we are back. Thank you for joining me. My name is Jed, and this is the Awakening Philosophy podcast. Today, we are in the Socrates and Jesus, a dialogue in heaven text. It is one of the greatest texts ever written. It's certainly one of the greatest texts I've ever read, and I actually told the author that himself. Super duper banger, this book. You are so lucky to be reading this book with me. I am so jealous of you. Last time we moved from an understanding of believers, a class of soul, a type, a way of being that human beings can be, and perhaps all evolving life can be at a stage of development called a believer, particularly a believer in the absurd, things that cannot be proven in principle by evidence. And the Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam all fit into that category. Isn't that interesting? And let's just fix something here. Bump this up a little bit louder. And we are speculating, or as well, maybe the pathologos fits into that category as well. Not in the text, but we can carry it as a question in our if sac. We carry a Q sac and an if sac with us in our inventory as we read. Q for questions and ifs for hypotheses. So, we understood the nature of a believer using the logos, using the principles of reality and understanding. And they are essentially, their way of existence is marked by conflict. They are in conflict. They are in conflict within themselves, particularly between the self-logos terms of limit and unlimited. In order to buy the story, buy the sales pitch, that you will be alleviated from your guilt caused by having problems, and you'll get a sense of feeling like you're the same as others, and you'll overcome your sense of being estranged in the world, lonely, different, and you will be freed from the story that we are going to tell you, that God is evil and nasty and will punish you for the way he made you. So a promise is you will overcome those three essential things. Now, they're all lies. The story about God punishing you for having problems is a lie. You don't overcome your feeling of guilt because you don't learn to address the cause of your problems, and you don't overcome problems, so you stay stuck in your problems. And of course, you don't actually get over your feeling of estrangement, because even though you are the same as other people who have also accept limitations in their lives, I mean, the price for membership is you have to accept limitations. You can't think certain things. You can't, welcome Reeve. You can't associate with certain people. You can't engage in certain activities. And according to Paul, you can't even read the New Testament. So you're the same as other people for accepting those limitations, but you really feel different. You really don't feel like you're like the others. So those three promises are all lies in Abrahamic religions and all other similar groups. Now, the fundamental state of conflict is between limit and unlimited. You realize that you are limited fundamentally, but you also are aware within yourself that if you're able to leave this group, leave these beliefs, just bump up the volume a little bit more, make it a little bit louder, just so it's working well in my OBS, that you have a potential freedom or unlimitedness or limitlessness. So that's the conflict between limit and freedom, or limit and limitless. But essentially, all of the self-logos terms you could understand as a fundamental conflict between each of those pairs. You're supposedly the same, but you feel different. You're like the others by accepting those limitations, but you really feel unlike. And so on. Now, the fundamental limitation is the big one. The denial of ousia and logos. The denial of self-reflection, which would actually solve those three problems, and logos, or understanding. Ousia and logos, the two fundamental things that are required for development and solving problems. How so? Well, if you can reflect on yourself and the cause of your problems through understanding, you can learn. Understand why the toaster is broken, you can fix it. Sounds simple when you say it. The other promise, you'll get over your feeling of estrangement. Well, if you can reflect on yourself and understand yourself as pure mind or being, you might recognize that the fundamental nature of your own consciousness is the nature of reality. And in recognizing that, you might also recognize that every single person you meet and is the same mind, and or the same aspect of mind going through a process to recognize itself as not a mind but the mind. So we're all the same. We're all aspects of mind going through a process of understanding, or a transition from beliefs to understanding, to recognize ourselves as the mind. But also, if you apply understanding to that pure ousia, Socrates pointed out, is consciousness itself, or pure beauty, or pure justice, or pure being. That is the highest kind of ousia, the highest kind of self-reflection, mind completely reflecting upon itself to know itself. And if you add to that experience of knowledge, the understanding that you've been developing, you have wisdom. And if you apply that same understanding you use to find the cause of your problems, to remove your guilt or sin, you can also apply that same thing. You can also do the same thing to understand the cause of reality or mind or being. To know the self. That which is beyond words and descriptions, because the highest words and descriptions are used to describe pure mind or the mind. And in doing so, you can recognize we're all essentially the same self, which is the cause of mind, of which we are all individual expressions or aspects, going through a process of moving from belief-based thinking into understanding, and then developing the art of understanding to recognize ourselves and understand ourselves as mind, wisdom, and beyond that, to know its cause, the self. So that is the use of ousia and logos, or understanding, to overcome our feelings of estrangement in the world. Not the promise made by imams and rabbis and priests and cult leaders and Mormon sages and all those sorts of people who are just bullshitting. And the third promise, so what are the three promises? You'll overcome your guilt. A lie, doesn't work. You'll overcome your estrangement. Again, ousia and logos is needed for that. And ousia and logos is needed to solve the actual third thing, which is when you die, God won't punish you in hell forever. So, and also the end of the world is coming, and you have to be a member of our group, otherwise, again, God will punish you. But, as we've just said, the understanding of God is dianoia, and the experience of God is mind. So, again, ousia and understanding, you can solve that problem by actually experiencing and understanding that God isn't like those lies. And of course, you can go beyond that to see, well, actually the higher idea of God is the one self. So we understood that in the last few episodes, and then we asked the question, well, what happens if you grew up in that, or grew up in a culture that's like that, and then you leave it? And then we have what we have, allowing us to understand the current democratic or left-wing parties. They reject those kinds of groups, but they go down. As those groups are characterized by denial or rejection of ousia and logos, when you leave those groups, well, that still had an effect on your upbringing. That was still your education. That still affects you, even if you've left the group. Or if you weren't formally a Christian, but you were raised in our modern age, in which these Abrahamic religions are in power. Meaning you still don't have logos and ousia. So you're left without what you need to actually make universal statements, because the paradigm or the model from which we get all of the principles that are universal and beneficial, allowing us to make general statements about what's true and what's good and what's beautiful and what's just, is missing in your soul. So that's the consequence of leaving those groups. A downward movement into the apparent safety of just making particular statements. Well, that's what I like, but who's to say what's right and wrong? That kind of thing. Hey, let the fascists take over. We don't want to be rude. Let the politicians be corrupt. Don't they all lie to us? Well, I don't like it, but it's not a universal principle that no politician should ever lie, and no news organization should ever lie. The apparent safety of never making generalized statements because you lack a model, because you lack ousia and logos, because whether you like it or not, you're still influenced by the teachings of those groups, especially the Abrahamic religions. So, that was neat. And then Jesus said, well, what's the alternative? What if we didn't leave group-based belief thinking to go down to a mass of differences? What if we went up? What if we progressed or evolved and we reclaimed our own mental capacity for ousia, self-reflection, and understanding, or logos? Now we're in philosophy. Now we're where we want to be. Now, that's when Socrates outlined the nature of philosophy, saying, hey, by the way, it's not my philosophy. It's not a downward movement to particulars. It's just philosophy. The idea that it's my personal philosophy, that's modernism from Aristotle. Like Paul has been lying about Jesus to create modern Christianity, so too Aristotle has been lying about Socrates to create what we currently teach as philosophy. Personal philosophy, Kant's philosophy, Hegel's philosophy, Hitler's philosophy, your aunt's philosophy, your racist uncle's philosophy. It's just a matter of opinion. Bollocks. That's Aristotle. And so, last time, we got a definition of what's the essence of philosophy, and Socrates says you can boil it down to one analogy. As the God, or the highest aspect that is beyond all names beyond all names and categories, is the cause of the brilliant light of being, which uses the highest names and categories, ultimate beauty, perfection of justice, pure bliss, literally the highest words, for the highest experience, mind itself. So too does that brilliant light of being create suns in our universe, or the principles of suns, which generate life. The one self is to pure being as pure being is to suns in our cosmos. That's the analogy. He went on to say, hey, by the way, that one, or the good itself, the highest term, is what you behold in that experience. So you can call it the beholding or ideas of the good. What we are taught in school is the form. It's not a form. It means to behold it. So that which is beyond experience, the one self or the good self, you can experience as pure mind, which is the beholding of yourself, or the idea, capital I, of the good. Now it's an analogy, it's a ratio. That ratio is the logos. That logos, that ratio, that understandable pattern that goes from the highest to the highest experience, from the highest experience to our physical world, that is understandable and knowable. Therefore, we give it the name intelligible. So we say that we can understand and verify that we live in an intelligible, permeating, multi-leveled power or structure or pattern that's called the logos. Okay? And that allows us to climb that logos through what we're doing here, understanding, to directly experience that brilliant light of being and understand it. That together is wisdom, and that is what gives us the model or paradigm from which we derive all principles, because it's beauty itself. It's justice itself. If we want a just society, like we should be demanding from the left wing, the Democrats, it requires that wisdom. Otherwise, anything goes, and then the fascists take over. People bound by irrational group-based thinking, like Abrahamic religions. Okay? It's that experience of being and its understanding is what we look to when forming an idea about what's just within ourselves and within society. Isn't that neat? So moving up from groups. Okay, Jesus went on to say, hey, by the way, that wisdom, that's what I meant when I said Son of God. Not the Son of God, the nature of, or the offspring of, or the presence of the one self, state of mind. So if that's understanding that analogy, and understanding from that analogy all other analogies unfold, you can recognize we live in an understandable universe. Because analogy means there's a parallel intellectual structure, as above, so below. So by understanding how our physical world relates to pure being, so too can we gain insights into how being relates to the self. And we talked about that last time, because that's what it means to create mythology. Everything that you understand in philosophy, which is also the way of spirituality, climbing understanding to those higher levels of wisdom and beyond, that's what it means to be a mystic. That's the mystical experience. That is enlightenment. And we could say, well, in that case, there are two levels or two kinds of enlightenment: wisdom, understanding and experience of pure being, and then whatever is the cause of that. And to get there, you follow analogy. To get to the first level, you follow analogy. Thinking is following analogy. Because the logos is that parallel, analogous structure that permeates reality. Parallel, intelligible structure of our cosmos. There you go. And it's that understanding that parallel, intelligible, understandable, and knowable structure of our cosmos is what we use, is the goal of philosophy, and what we use as a standard for everything good, beautiful, and just. Therefore, it's the standard for morals and psychology and ethics, and by extension, every spiritual authority and religious spiritual authority and political authority has to master that. Because it's the standard. Just like every doctor has to master the healthy body, every one in charge of organizing our society or our soul, spiritual leaders or political leaders, better know the model of the healthy soul. It ain't complicated. A doctor better have an idea or a vision of a healthy body, and he better understand it too. A mechanic better have a vision of a healthy engine, and he better understand the parts too. Any political or spiritual leader better have that vision of pure justice, being, and he better understand it too. See what we did there? We used analogy. We used parallel structures between a mechanic is to doctor, or a car is to a body. So too, body is to a soul. That's understanding. That's how we climb the path of understanding to enlightenment, or the way of the mystic. Or really, every human being's path of evolution. Isn't that interesting? Understanding analogies, understanding itself, is the path. Analogies are fun too. That's important. It's the funnest game in town.
The problem is that you can't reason. Where's the joy?
Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
It's fun. And we encourage our chatters to have fun playing with analogies. Anything they see, make a little, organize the structure. Oh, you might have noticed that earlier on in the, especially on our Philosophical Midwifery channel, we talk about the 6 kinds of belief. Oh, 6 terms. Have fun. Arrange them. But you can have even more fun if you make an analogy. This kind of belief is like Spider-Man. This kind of belief is like Wonder Woman. Now, you don't have to borrow from mythologies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You can make your own. That's mythology. Having fun with analogies. Which is exactly what we're doing as we're reading this text. So, our job is to move through ousia and logos, through the love of understanding. It's love. We're interested in it. We love to join with beauty itself, and join fully with beauty itself, and maybe even forever with beauty itself, which of course we feel when we see a beautiful person. And then as we grow in philosophy, we see an even deeper level of beauty in another person if they have an open, generous, and a love of understanding in their soul, beautiful souls. But then we have to wonder, how do you fully and eternally join with beauty itself, if that's the desire behind love? Well, that's why the nature of mind itself is eternity, is pure beauty, and can be connected with fully in ousia. That's the fulfillment of our urge of beauty. Our urge of love to beauty. And again, that's just the mean term from our physical to being, but also everything that we took to get from the physical world to this experience of beauty or being, we can use analogously to go from being to the one self or the good self. That's the fundamental, highest analogy of philosophy. The one self is to being as being is to becoming, or the principle of suns. The cause of life in our physical world. So, you can have fun with that. Oh, suns are the cause of life in our physical world. Well, that means that, maybe the brilliant light of being is the cause of knowable objects in the realm of knowledge. The sun provides nourishment for all growing beings, growing physical beings in the physical world. Well, maybe the experience of the brilliant light of being is what nourishes the soul of the philosopher, keeps us motivated and healthy and inspired in our philosophical path. See what you can do there? You can have fun using analogy. Oh, and then take it another step to wonder about what would be the analogical equivalent to that which is the cause of even being. So this is Socrates, in a text last time, explaining philosophy, and then the application of that to the state or our society. Socrates said, you know what? Even though there was some unjust laws that sentenced me to death by sharing this, doing my job, the most important job any human being has done, sharing the logos that we are literally benefiting from right here, I still followed those laws. And last time we wondered why. And Socrates says, hey, you know why? Because it's important to demonstrate the laws that we have. Yeah, our laws killed the best human being. We better do better. Why? Because if we want our species to survive the inevitable extinction that follows group-based thinking that rejects ousia and logos, then we have to make damn sure our laws reflect the logos, that our societal laws reflect and are in harmony with the principles or laws of the intelligible cosmos. That paradigm that we're talking about, the logos, we need to make our laws according to it, because if we don't, we're just another species who have gone extinct because we failed to grow up and maturely and rationally reflect with understanding on the source of our problems, belief-based thinking, address that, and then use that ousia and logos to now find the truth and use that as the model or paradigm to make laws which are in harmony and reflect the intelligible laws of the whole cosmos. So that's our job. And Socrates said, that's why I follow the laws. Which is interesting. By the way, in group-based belief thinking, not only do you have to accept whatever belief about Joseph Smith or Xenu or Jesus or Muhammad or Abraham or whoever the heck, you also have to accept a different belief at the same time, because these beliefs are in principle unprovable. You also have, and you're saying this is the height of truth. This is what saves you, saves your soul from that fairy tale about God beating you up when you die or the end of the world, and saves you from your guilt problems and saves you from your feeling of difference. That highest truth is based on irrationality. To believe what is fucking stupid. You can't prove any of that. Now, easy to see in anyone else's beliefs. If you're a Mormon, look at the Jews. Fucking stupid, right? If you're Jew, look at the Muslims. Fucking stupid, right? If you're a Christian, look at anything else. Any of those in the list. Very, very easy. Takes maturity and courage and integrity to realize, holy shit, I'm also a human being. I'm not special, even though my priest or imam or rabbi told me we're special. That's bullshit. I probably have it too. Our first reaction is not me, not my parents, not my priest. But of course, that's irrational. We can't allow that anymore. Because you're swallowing the bullshit that irrationality equals truth, which means your mind useless. Why? Mind sees reason, mind thinks through reason and evidence to come to conclusions through understanding. But the height of truth is the opposite. My mind must be useless. By the way, if the irrational is true no matter what I think or feel or see, then my being is meaningless. I don't have to improve my state of being. I can be as dumb as I was as a kid, so long as I'm Christian, so long as I'm Mormon, so long as I'm whatever. So your being doesn't matter, your understanding doesn't matter, your self doesn't matter. Because what's the role of yourself and all that? Just to be a sheep? and mind doesn't matter. Being, mind, understanding, and self rendered meaningless by accepting the other belief that comes along with being a believer, that irrationality is truth. Interesting? Makes sense, right? So very different from intelligibility being truth. Yeah, rationality and knowability and understanding and analogy and patterns and the laws of the universe. Not the opposite of that. Caveman, absurdity, savagery, zombie-like virus to sages. Savages to sages, that's our movement. Belief to understanding, savages to sages. Interesting? Worth understanding? I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. Now, if that's the case, and when you say it, it's obvious, and it's been said before by Socrates, what blocks us? How do we remove our blocks? And how do we walk that path of the sage or the mystic? And that's when Socrates gave us that idea of analogy. Hey, there is a charm in people who express this understanding, who have been walking the path themselves, in presenting it through stories. Your goal is to find some connection. Oh, this character represents this, and this character represents this. But then there are these 4 other characters. What do they represent? That's called expanding the analogy and solving the puzzle. Just like, oh, I'm playing Resident Evil, and this painting needs a gem in it, and then I open this door. This painting needs a gem in it, and I open this door. But this painting's missing a gem, and this painting's missing a gem, and this painting's missing a gem. Therefore, I expand that analogy out, and that means I need to find that gem, and that gem, and that gem, and that means I can awaken or open that door, and that door, and that door. That's how it works. That's how everything works. That's how learning and video games work. They give you the first couple. Oh wow, that painting has 2 blue gems in the eyes of that person. Oh, that painting's missing a gem. I wonder what I have to do. You have to go through the haunted zombie mansion and find the other gem that matches that gem, and you got to put it in the eye, and then you'll open the next area. Right? That's expanding the analogies. In recognizing that's in every Sherlock Holmes, let's just stay with the video game analogy, shall we? If that's every video game, they hold your hand for the first few until you recognize the pattern, and then you expand the analogy. Then what you're recognizing is there's an archetype behind video games or teaching. Now, last time we heard Socrates say, the absolute best game to play that on isn't Resident Evil, isn't even the remake of Silent Hill 2. It's your dreams. Oh, your dreams. In fact, that might be the highest thing and the fullest, most excellent or artful or masterful expression of that paradigm. Our dreams. That's where we learn how to, the way we've been learning how to read, pulling out the terms, arranging them into a pattern, into a hierarchy of greater to lesser, looking for parallel structures and other ideas. seeing if there are some things missing and filling out the analogy. That's the game. That's understanding. Now, we've been given a key. The highest ratio of that is the principle of suns in our universe is to the brilliant light of being, as the brilliant light of being is to the one self. So use that as a mysterious key to unlock even deeper insight if you want. But that's where we are in the text. Understanding how to think, to follow understanding, follow the human journey, follow the archetype of video games, the quest of man, and follow the path of the sage or the mystic through analogies. In particular, applied to dreams that can help you in philosophical midwifery, which removes those false beliefs that bind you to ignorance and reject logos, ousia, being, mind, self, and understanding. Remove the cause of that. But also helps you in philosophy, the use of ousia and logos or understanding to reach wisdom, and then maybe what is beyond even words, the cause of wisdom. So, that's where we are. I hope you have your coffee. Cheers if you do. A little bit of ASMR for no extra charge. Let's jump in. Yeah, the book. Book's a banger. Have I said that? Okay, let's bring us back up to speed. Oh, how far back do we go? They're all, look at this. Okay, let's go. Let's start from here. Okay, so we've covered the difference between Mark and Paul. They're the two big ones in Christianity. There are 4 Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Paul. Matthew and Luke copied Mark and added a few things in. But the main narrative structure of the life of Jesus is from Mark, which emphasizes the role of understanding and learning. And a Son of God, not the Son of God, because it's a state of mind that Jesus has experienced as the brilliant light of being experienced. Only he retreats into his early religious beliefs and then plays out the drama of the son of David and so on, leading to his tragic end. Not a tragic end, a pathetic end, because in a tragic hero story, he realizes he should have reflected on his early beliefs. Jesus says, "Why, God, why have you forsaken me?" Tragic end. Resurrection stuff was added hundreds of years later by the church. So it's Mark. And then we have Paul, who completely rejects everything Jesus said and then made up his own bullshit. Like 15 fundamental principles we've gone through a few times about, just believing him, pretty much. Believing he's special and he's the one and he speaks for Jesus and he starts the church and he has the sacraments and he says the world's going to end, and then when the world ends, Jesus comes back and it's going to happen in his lifetime. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago. That's modern Christianity. Paul. So Jesus said, hey, if I've got Paul and Mark, let's understand Aristotle and Plato for you. So to see how well Plato and Aristotle understood the teachings of actual philosophy, let's nail down what actual philosophy is. So it's worth going through that one more time. What is real philosophy? You won't find it in any YouTube. You will find it in, there's a couple, okay, there are a few YouTube videos. PRS, Pierre Grimes, look for that. But other than that, there aren't many. Pierre Grimes has a really good series of interviews that I recommend anyone getting into philosophy on New Thinking Aloud, a YouTube channel. Jeffrey Mishlove has interviewed Pierre maybe a dozen times. They're all bangers. And of course, there is one more interview that he made before he died, which was also really great. Pierre Grimes and John Vervaeke It's worth shouting out, so I'll pull it up. Vervaeke and Pierre Grimes. It's fascinating because here it is: Unveiling the Self, a philosophical journey, philosophy of meditations with Pierre Grimes. So they raise the question, can you have a philosophy of meditation? And Pierre answers that question in a way that blows the mind of one of the interviewers, but the other interviewer doesn't like. That's really funny. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll shout that out. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So, what is actually philosophy? Tell us, Sock. Jesus. I do like the way we explore Paul and Mark, Socrates. Let's begin the comparisons after you share what is the essential message of your philosophy. In doing that, it should help me see yours in comparison to Aristotle and Plato. The big theme of this book is the difference between truth and rationality and how human beings respond to it. So that's so important. And the promise is, can we find a hierarchical list of human reactions to a new idea or rationality so that we can recognize, yeah, there are going to be some jerks out there who are going to hate something new from their racist beliefs or sexist beliefs or Abrahamic beliefs or childhood beliefs or pathologos beliefs. They're going to be real pricks. There are going to be people who can accept it a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then, of course, you get those best kind of people who are more open and generous and curious and value understanding more than everyone else. And those are the people that we want to reach out to and say, hey, you're the best of us. Please. You've gotten really far on your own through understanding. You've seen a lot, and you are the most rational and caring of all of us. Take this next step. Find the paradigm behind why you are so good, why you are so beneficial, why you can understand, why you're better than the right wings or the conservatives or the fascists or the sexists or the racists. Be the new Socrates and embody a new way of being for our new age. So, what's your philosophy so we can compare it to the interpretations of Aristotle and Plato? Excuse me. Well, that's a thoughtful way to continue. Surely you do offer a perfect point of departure. It is first necessary for me to say that my philosophy is not something unique to me. In a real sense, I have no personal philosophy. I'm one of those philosophers who stand in a long line, singing the same song about the gods and how they deal with man. I may have gone further than some, just as some will have said what I have said. Equally, in the future, there will be others who will catch this most splendid tunes of philosophy and join me in this song. The ones I was talking about 4 seconds ago. So what have I come to? It is in this most fundamental analogy. That which is beyond all names and categories is the cause of that most brilliant light of being. So too is this most brilliant light of being to the sun, or Helios, the principle of the sun. Here is the most splendid of mean analogies. Its depth is marvelous to behold and understand. The analogy expresses that there is a parallel structure. Highlight it. Between heaven and earth. Between the realm of the mind and its transition into the cosmos. That's neat. we can also ask not just what is, but how did it come to be? Or how was it being created at each moment? Transition. The primary term is named the good itself, or the good self. And the second term, divine luminosity, the divine luminosity, is also called the idea of the good with a capital I. For when we stress this term, idea, we do so because in the Greek the word idea means to behold. It's not a concept or a form. To behold the good is to behold it as divine luminosity. The second ratio, or logos, continues the creative power of creation from the metaphysical to the God, helios, or from the divine luminosity to the sun. To understand this analogy and to come to realize the depth of these two ratios is the task of my philosophy. The understanding that is shaped through this reflection brings the mind to recognize that the nature of reality has an intelligible, permeating, multi-leveled power.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Wow. And that deserves the name Logos. Yes. The understanding developed prepares the mind for visionary experience, confirming for the philosopher that it is genuinely possible to be present before the good itself. As the sight of this beauty, capital B, of the divine luminosity awakens an intense desire for union with it, so too is the desire to participate in it most fully. Romance, I want to join with you completely, my love, and be with you forever until the stars fall out of the sky. This is the fulfillment of that desire that we express in romantic sentiment. Isn't that interesting? The name we give to this desire is love. For love is the desire for the beautiful and the good. Interesting. See, the desire for the beautiful brings you to that luminosity experience, but the other part of that ratio is the good itself. So maybe love even takes us from perfect beauty to that which is beyond all names and categories. Good. Love and logos all the way up. To experience it and to understand it in depth, that is wisdom. As the just thinking about all of the growing up in Australia, all of the bullies and yokels and dum-dums and people who think the attacking of understanding, the attacking of self-reflection is the mark of wisdom, because it's easy to break things than it is to make things. So I think of the American right-wingers. They love to, find something good that the creatives or artists or the left wing are doing and get mad about it. It's all mad because that's their mark of wisdom. Not being able to do anything, because to be a part of a group is to reject ousia and logos, what is needed for creation. Now, this is also needed for the ultimate creation because that's the model of beauty. So you can't be a miserable bastard unless you have someone around you doing good. You can't be a hater unless you got someone to hate on. You can't be a boomer watching Fox News unless there are some good people trying to solve problems that you can shit on. You can't be a Joe Rogan podcast comedian without some people trying to find equal rights or speak out against genocide that you can beat up on like a bully. You can't be a Ben Shapiro unless you've got a Bill Burr to start a beef with. Breakers need the makers. Breakers have to take from the makers to be a curmudgeon. To be a bully, you need the kid having fun first, building the sandcastle, so you can go and kick it down and feel like a big tough guy. And every day I go to my gym, I see two sorts of people, the makers and the breakers. The bullies and thugs, the pig-headed people who've never questioned their parents who crushed them, and the people who are trying to better themselves through health and fitness. The people who are happy and positive and encourage people to do well at the gym, and the shitheads who do the opposite. The breakers and the makers. The right wing and the left wing. The conservatives conserving their false beliefs and ignorance, and the progressives. Now what we want to do is find those progressives who can join the song of philosophy and take it to the next step and find the model for progressiveness, find the model for justice, and find the model for beauty, so that what you're making reflects the beauty and the intelligibility of the cosmos itself. Easier to live in a bubble based on your own bias without any recognition of outside the box. Well said. The sight of this beauty of divine luminosity awakens an intense desire for union with it, says Socrates. So too is the desire to participate in it most fully. The name we give for this desire is love. For love is the desire for the beautiful and the good. To experience the makers, not the breakers. To experience it and to understand its depth. That is wisdom. As the practice of being open to it and participating in it. So we have to be most open. And then when the call is given, we accept the invitation. That is an exalted kind of knowledge, and it's a practice. Its goodness shines throughout, and it becomes that to which one looks when forming an idea of what is just in man and in society. Therefore, the good people, the reflective people, the intelligent people, the people who are working on developing their understanding, and the people who are trying to share it as best they can to benefit, this is the next step for them. Joining in the song of philosophy. Not a philosophy, the philosophy. Participating in mind. Not a mind, the mind. Finding the model. Not a model, the model. And then wondering beyond that, what is its cause? The good. Not a good, the good self. From A's to thes. Jesus comes in. You speak truly, for the most brilliant light of being is the Son of God. It is the manifestation of God. It is the presence of God. And as we enter into it, we know that while we are what we have become, it also stands majestically and profoundly itself as itself, or, in the words of the dialectic, self as the self. It is self as the self. That's that state of being. Jesus calls it Son of God. We can call it divine luminosity or the mind. A true philosopher is a true mystic. And if the philosophy embraces as much as what you have said, then philosophy is the way of wisdom. Hooray. The way of wisdom. Socrates. Yes, indeed, for I have left nothing undone that would keep me away from my goal. I often said that while there are many thrisis bearers, mystical staff carriers like Gandalf, there are few who are true mystics. Many are the staff bearers, few are the true mystics. I made clear that I am among those mystics, and I urge those about me to join in this practice. Stay a while, listen, become a mystic yourself. And that's what we're saying. This is the point of the channel. To say, hey, this isn't a philosophy, it's the philosophy. This isn't a meaning of life for some, it's the meaning of life. It isn't the game for some people, it isn't a game you can play, it's the only real game in town. You either live a life of suffering and problems, bound by belief thinking, or you walk the path of the mystic or the way of wisdom. You are in a dialectic anyway. You are carrying an idea of what you are as yourself. You are carrying an idea of how far your mind can reach. You are carrying an idea of how limited your understanding is and how important your goals and your way of being is. You have those ideas anyway, and you function through them anyway. Therefore, the game is for everyone to say, hang on a second, are those things you're carrying that dictate your whole life, your relationships, your problems, and what goals you can and cannot reach? Why not have a look at them and see whether they're legit? And if they're not legit, let them go. And find the legit ones. Because what Socrates is saying, hey, finding the legit ones, finding what the self is and mind is and how far understanding can reach, and taking that as a practice in your way of being, that's the purpose of everyone. That's this channel. I'm trying to say, look, it's for everyone. Philosophy isn't about debate. That's Aristotle. Philosophy isn't a personal thing. That's Aristotle. Philosophy isn't a stuffy thing in a university hall. No, that's Aristotle. Philosophy isn't just empty talk that never solves human problems. That's Aristotle. Socrates, he doesn't speak for Socrates. He claims to speak for Socrates, but he was lying or just wrong. Philosophy is for everyone. We all have ousia. We are all a walking dialectic. It's for everyone. Philosophy is just how to play the game well. Everyone loves Resident Evil and Silent Hill 2. This is the real version. Everyone loves Harry Potter and Star Wars and all of those. They're all based on the hero's journey. This is the hero's journey. Isn't that interesting? And that's why we are plotting to steal all of Hassan Piker's Twitch viewers and bring them over to us. And all of Asmongold's Twitch and YouTube viewers too. We will have all of the viewers. And that's step one in our plan for world domination. You see the plan at work. See? I'm playing 3D chess here. Hey, if I can get an average of 3 viewers per Twitch stream, I'll be happy. Because that's what I need to become an affiliate after a couple of years of streaming. So, many carry the staff, but few are actual mystics. Many people call themselves gurus or sages or enlightened or teachers or priests or imams or rabbis or whatever the heck, but few are actual mystics. That's what it means to be a philosopher. And I urge people, says Socrates, to join me in this practice. It's for everyone. It's not an exclusive club. You don't need to be a gold membership person, and McDonald's can't patent it, so it's only for the billionaires. Nope, it's for everyone. As for some principle, Well, I have urged those about me to pursue the second ratio of that analogy. The most luminous light of being is to the sun. Why? Because the principle behind all suns in all galaxies cannot be a sun, but the condition for suns to be. This principle is Helios, the condition for suns to be. The god Apollo is often connected to Helios, and his temples are linked with the god Helios. Here is a divine becoming on two levels. The most primary terms are the God that transcends all descriptions, and the luminosity that needs all the superlatives, in an attempt to match its splendor. So if the brilliant light of being, we need all of the best words, all of the best words, all of the most beautiful words, words like you've never seen before. Oh my God, all of the best words. We need those to describe being. Those are the aspects, or the eidos. Being, beauty, bliss, justice. We don't have better words than that. Eternity, wisdom. They're literally the best. Because it's the best experience. But its cause, the good that causes being, has to therefore be beyond all descriptions. But that doesn't mean it's not understandable. It means there's a puzzle. And that puzzle is the first hypothesis of Parmenides. These two ratios form an analogy, bringing a unity that reveals that there is a parallel, intelligible structure of our cosmos. Understanding it and coming to know it is one of the goals of my philosophy. To know what? The ratio, the parallel structure, analogy. Once gained, this vision can become the standard for all that is called good, beautiful, and just. Here is the foundation of our search for fundamental principles. Right? Those lefties who are doing really good out there. The next step. And psychology and ethics. Those people who fall out of beliefs but still haven't picked up ousia and logos say things like, no politics and religion at the table. Because it's just a matter of opinion, there's no objective true principle or standard for which we can all talk about it every single night over dinner so we all are improved. And we definitely can't question Trump or Hitler or Netanyahu or Putin. That's rude. Hey, their opinions are just as valid as any. Bullshit. There is a fundamental principle, and it's that standard. Beauty itself, justice itself, goodness itself. Therefore, the necessity of our species and the members within our species to walk the path of philosophy. I mean, you're in the game anyway, you're just doing it badly. You're at a stage of development into wisdom. Okay, and this is the standard for principles for psychology and ethics. Kings and clergy. Although we wouldn't use those terms anymore. Now that is well said, Socrates. You link these ideas with your idea of mind, do you not? Yes, indeed. After encountering that vision of the nature of reality, I had urged those in my circle to take on the real task, which is to recognize that it is not different from mind itself. Not a mind, but mind itself. Seeing it is what is essentially our true self, and we call it mind. It is true that we call it reality or wisdom or beauty itself, since there are different ways of expressing the majesty of that divine luminosity. And these are what are called the eidos, or ideas. The way to this state of mind is open to all. Everyone should subscribe to the Awakening Philosophy Twitch and YouTube channel. It's for everyone. You can even join the Discord. That is why we have a rational approach. Not a belief. Beliefs divide. Beliefs are groups. You believe your priest, I believe my rabbi. You believe your imam, I believe my preacher. Etc., etc., etc. Conflict, because believers, their state of existence is conflict internally, expressed outwardly also. Conflict is caused by belief. Unity is caused by reason and understanding. That's why we say mind, the source of understanding, is for everyone, because we're all mind, and the rational approach anyone can walk. Love of understanding. The way to this state of mind is open to all. That is why we have a rational approach to the surfacing of the very blocks to that experience. Clearly, man is caught in his own beliefs and opinions that effectively block him from that vision. As those about me exhibit these false beliefs, I challenge them to defend their ideas. I question everyone I meet who lives with such false beliefs. I even question the most powerful in society, and none can escape my quest to examine each and every one about how well they care for their soul. This, as you know, is my duty and role as a philosopher to my fellow man. God has assigned this duty to me, just as a commander would assign someone to a battlefield position. I should add that no better thing has happened to any city-state. No better thing has happened to human society than my role as a gadfly to the state. Gadfly are the little flies that fly around a horse, and even though the horse is big and strong and powerful, it gets bugged by those little gadflies. Annoys them. Horse goes, and its tail goes. Do I have a horse? Got lots of horses. This is the big, powerful horse of the state or the city or the government, and a little, tiny little fly, just one person, just Socrates goes, and the horse goes, get out of here. Get out of here, gadfly. And its tail goes, swoosh, 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 swoosh. Asmongold doesn't have puppetry. Hassan Piker doesn't have puppetry. Look at this. That's the city-state. And the gadfly, a little chicken. This is Socrates. Get away from me, Socrates. How well are you taking care of your soul? I don't know. I've never thought about it. But maybe you should think about it. I don't know. Well, you're supposed to be the king. Do you know what justice is? I guess it's a belief, you're being good to your friends and harming your enemies. Well, is that true, or is that a belief? It's a false belief because you don't actually help people by harming them. And fire makes things hot. And ice makes things cold. How can you be just, but have an unjust effect by hurting people? You're causing me to challenge my false beliefs, Socrates. What a pain. You're the biggest jerk in the city. No, actually, I'm the best thing ever to happen to a city. Tuk, 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 tuk. See? You don't get this kind of drama and analogy and puppetry on a Hassan Piker or Asmongold stream. That's just facts. So, Mr. Twitch, give me all their viewers. That's what a gadfly is, by the way. Kind of mean, though. Yeah, well, he's a tough guy. Look at it. Maybe this. Yeah, it is. That's what he looks like. Socrates was known to be quite a tough warrior on the battlefield as well. The story about that in the symposium, which we'll get to, I can't get out of this book. It's so good. We started reading the symposium, but this book is so great. Someone comes into the party and says, "Oh, I saw Socrates on the battlefield." He would always look at people with like a kind, paternal, loving smile and a warmth. And when the enemy would approach Socrates or anyone near Socrates, they would see Socrates and they just not dealing with you, and they just go away. Hardcore criminality? Are you a hardcore criminal? Surely not. Look at that face. Innocent. Innocent. He's flipping out. You're woken the beast. Socrates. No better thing has happened to any city-state than my role as a gadfly, just like the little chicken biting the big unicorn horse on his butt. As a citizen of this state, I fulfilled my role in every way. I obeyed the laws of this state because through the perfection of its laws, man becomes part of this intelligible cosmos. If we do not pick up the logos and wisdom as our paradigm, because it is the paradigm of the multi-leveled, rational, parallel intelligible structure of the cosmos. It's the intelligible, permeating, multi-leveled power of the cosmos. That's the logos. That's the principles that our entire cosmos means any universe. Universe means one, but if there's multiverses, that's included in cosmos. Our entire physical reality follows these intelligible, permeating, parallel principles. If we don't align our human society to those very principles of the cosmos will reject us. We are not in harmony with reality. We will go extinct. That's the current way we rule our world. That extinction can play out soon because our false beliefs can play out with nuclear weapons, and that's what's about to happen. Unless we align our laws to the same principles that the whole cosmos follows, then we can be in harmony with the reality, not be at war with reality, not be a cancer in reality. Therefore, Socrates followed the laws. Yes, he was a kind of human sacrifice to our ignorance. But it should wake us up. If Socrates was a true mystic, inviting everyone to play, giving us what we need to solve problems and reach excellence, and our laws made it so he could die, our laws are not in line with the cosmos. We need to buck up our act quick smart and do this. Tell your friends. I obeyed the laws as the laws of this state, because it's through the perfection of its laws that man becomes part of this intelligible cosmos. Be it as a soldier or as an official in that state, I did, because he was a soldier too, I did everything I could to show the excellence that guided my soul. Jesus says, "You have said it well. I now understand much better the nature of your trial. You have awakened in me much that I knew without recognizing its depth. Still, my dear Socrates, is it not true that these blocking beliefs spell out man's ignorance, yet are not known to them? You have to help them find a way. You have to help them find what they never suspected was blocking them." That's the thing. The cause of our injustice and barbarism and problems and internal and external conflict are beliefs that we do not even know that we have. It wouldn't be much of a belief if we didn't believe it. Therefore, there has to be a way of surfacing what we never suspect is blocking us. Yes, what is not suspected remains unknown. Only questions can unearth the roots of ignorance. Questions guided by the quest for truth become dialogues. So I dialogue with those willing to enter into the search for truth. Our dialogues are never confined to an inner circle. Those who care to stay a while and listen to these dialogues see in another's problem, aspects of their own. So you can host it on Twitch and YouTube. Anyone can join in. It applies to all of us. Man has only a finite number of problems, meaning we can come to a complete list of all possible human problems in our quest to master the art of what it means to be a healing or a good or a benefiting person. So hopefully we'll end up with a list by the end of the book. Maybe. Because there is a finite set, a limited set of human problems. Man has only a finite number of problems, and each shares a basic motif with all the others. Dreams. Now, I just thought of something. Does he mean mankind has only a finite list of problems? Or does he mean each individual person has a bunch of problems, but all his problems have the same theme? My working hypothesis is it's both. Each person on a quest to remove our problems, our individual problems, to harmonize our soul with the intelligible cosmos, will find a finite list of problems that play out in their lives, relationships, and dreams, meaning you can nail them all down and see that there's a theme running through all of them, caused by a basic, fundamental pathologos belief about yourself in reality. I'm thinking that it's also the same for humans in general. As above, so below. Parallel intelligibility or analogy. So too, there are a certain amount of human problems, and each of them, and they all have a same motif. Maybe what we looked at last time about when you limit ousia and logos in Abrahamic beliefs or belief-based groups, you reject by accepting irrationality as the principle of reality, because you can't prove these beliefs irrational, absurd, but you have to believe them as the highest truth. You end up making meaningless the self, mind, being, understanding, and our highest goals. So, I'm guessing that might be the basic motif. Don't know. Carry it as a question. Carry it as a hypothesis. One goes into my Q sack, one goes into my if sack, and they're both in my inventory. as I explore the Resident Evil mansion. Man has only a finite number of problems, and each shares a basic motif with the others. Dreams are rich messages from the mind. Let's highlight the mind. Ever dreamed before? Getting a message from that mind. Dreams are rich messages from the mind that can turn us about, Usia, and keep us on the noblest journey, philosophy. The meaning of our dreams comes slowly to most, but it is all a matter of learning. Those who have gained insight into the language of dreams have learned to see a profound level of meaning in their relationships within themselves and with others. So as we come to learn the language of dreams, we can see it reflects how we play out our relationships and how we relate to ourselves. Now, of course, each level of development is marked by a new level of usia, or new way of reflecting on yourself. So questions, popping a question to someone charmingly, artfully, and there are some content creators out there who can pop questions in a funny, charming way. That's really cool to watch. Can get people to think about themselves in a way they've never thought about themselves. They've never even thought about their own thinking. They're just always following the same people that, they're always following Ethan Klein or Asmongold or Joe Rogan or Jordan Peterson or Donald Trump, because they've never thought about why. I mean, the why is because it resembles their parents, the early teachers. But popping a question about whether what they're doing is good, or why they like this person, what are they doing with their lives, how often they shower, might get them to think about themselves. Now, that act of thinking about themselves might be the first time they've ever done that. That's a new usia. Most people don't think about how they think, or what they believe, or who they follow. Usia. New level of usia. Now, we saw that the brilliant light of being is pure usia. So these levels of usia are mini enlightenment experiences, or stages of development culminating in pure usia. But then, of course, we can use our understanding to reflect even on the cause of that. Similarly, in dream analysis, he's saying understanding dreams, the messages from your guru, the mind, to help you in the journey of human beings to become mystics or wise. The learning of listening to your dreams, or learning the language of dreams, comes slowly to a lot of people. Doesn't have to. It's completely up to you. You can move quickly. You can do dream analysis every day. You've got a friend or a partner or someone in your life who's also loves understanding and wants to develop. You can move quickly like a thief, Socrates says. You don't have to be a barbarian moving slowly and lumbering. You can pick a thief class or a sneak class. And you move quickly. Or a rogue. Real quick. Stab, stab, stab. My problem's away. And the first level of usia is to recognize there is a significance in your dreams. So as a dream midwife, the first things you ask is, look at the drama happening here. Does that reflect anything you see in your present life? Anything you've been going and you've been experiencing recently, either in your relationship with yourself or others. Self or others. The two basic things. The basic things of the dialectic. Self and other. And when somebody realized, holy crap, the drama played out with dragons in my dream is actually playing out with my relationship with my partner or with my friends or with my colleagues or with my football teammates, or the way I talk to myself at certain times, the way I limit myself, the way I create anxiety about myself. Which gives you two things. It gives you that first level of ousia about dreams. There is something worth reflecting on in dreams. Dreams are not just random synapses firing, or what modern Aristotelian philosophers say or psychologists say. Oh, it's just synapses and just random chemicals. Bollocks. So, you've beginning your journey, which is, again, the first level of ousia. Then there'll be higher and higher levels of ousia, culminating in pure ousia, and then ousia-ing on that. The first level of ousia is, oh, holy crap, there is a meaning in my dreams. In at least they reflect the dramas played out within myself and others. The other thing you get is an ousia about your everyday world. My relationships, my random encounters are not random. The way I talk to myself and relate to myself isn't arbitrary. There is a profound significance and meaning in it, a pattern in it, and a finite set of ways I treat myself, and there's an underlying motif in all of it that if I understand, I can free myself from, or a positive kind that I can perfect in excellence in philosophy. There's a meaning to our relationships, and there's a meaning to dreams. That's starting to learn the language of dreams and to develop a relationship with your dream master, the mind. Ousia and logos, once again. Self-reflection, ousia, guided by you, the dialectician, using the logos. Again, question. He said, hey, you only questions unearth the root of ignorance. Here's a question. Have you seen a similar drama in your everyday life? Anything happened in the last couple of days? Anything in the way you treated others or got treated by others or treated yourself? A question, using words, logos, encouraging ousia, that can awaken, one, to the meaning of our relationships, and new insight into our problems or our purpose. Sound good? Love and logos. Philadelphia. The meaning of our dreams comes slowly to most, because some don't take the class of the rogue or the thief. But it's all a matter of learning. Those who have gained insight into the language of dreams have learned to see a profound level of meaning in their relationships within themselves and with others. It is a rich source of learning of symbols, metaphor, and analogy, the language of dream, and in the ways of carrying on communications that bring us to the realization that we are all on a spiritual journey. That's right, all of us. Even Hassan Piker's viewers, even Asmongold's viewers, we are all on a spiritual journey, and we all have dreams that we can all learn the language of. Therefore, they all come to this Twitch channel to make Jed rich. I don't actually know how the money comes from Twitch. I'm not affiliate yet. You need an average of 3 viewers. Don't have that yet. Socrates isn't talking about my Twitch following. Let's get back to it. Carrying on communication. It's a relationship. You don't just have one dream. Just like we talked to our chat friends sometimes on this channel, encourage them to play out their highest goals. They have an insight or have an idea, do it. But you're not on your own. It's a relationship. Whether you succeed or fail, you have material to reflect on next stream, or next Discord chat, or next coffee meeting. Cheers. Just like if you misunderstand your dream, well, you get another one tomorrow night. It's an ongoing communication. It's a relationship. It is dreams are a rich source of learning of language of dreams, symbols, metaphors, and analogy, and in the way of carrying on communications that bring us to the realization we are all on a spiritual journey. Hooray. This is the Logos, emerging from within the rational pursuit of truth. If you genuinely are seeking truth rationally, not believing anyone or following opinions or taking advice, your own rational understanding and verification by risking it in your experiences, trying it out, then you will see the Logos emerging. And that is found in dreams. The common feature of our spiritual struggle highlights the differences. For as heaven is, so is earth. It is through such analogies. The common feature of our spiritual struggle, right, so we all have a similar struggle and we all get similar messages from our dreams. Different, but similar. And it's the similarity that highlights the differences. What does that mean? As heaven is, so is earth. It is through such analogies that I bring to birth a new kind of understanding. What does that mean? The principles of being are in earth, but our difficulties are when we are different to it. Oh no, I'll carry a question about that as I go. In this philosophical search, we explore analogies and myths. The myths we reflect upon have parallels with the spiritual journey of mankind, and can represent that journey with dramatic and philosophical charm. They both express and challenge seekers to unveil the drama cloaked in images and symbols. The quest to resolve the hidden meaning in allegories is found in expanding the analogies and finding the parallel term for each image. It's not just one painting with a gem in its eyes, but there's a whole hallway. Find the parallel gem, go in. Only with allegories, because that's better than Resident Evil, because it's expressing our philosophical, spiritual journey, the quest of man. Bringing these two together is the philosophical way for cultivating the understanding. That's the game of cultivating understanding. With this inner development of one's understanding comes the very condition for gaining the vision of ultimate reality. Wowzers. That's where we're up to. Hey, welcome round, Rodent. We all go through the same kinds of spiritual battles. Indeed. But the way they show up in our lives is unique, and it's those unique differences stand out precisely because the struggles themselves are so common. Helping us make sense of... We're reading a book called Socrates and Jesus, a Dialogue in Heaven. We're about 76 pages of 270. So we're about, what, a quarter of the way through? You can find the previous episodes on the YouTube. There's a link below. And you can find a link to the text below as well. This book is a banger. Socrates and Jesus meeting in the afterlife to discuss the effect of their teaching on mankind. It is a banger. We've already gone through a lot about Jesus's idea of, well, first of all, what was Jesus saying compared to how we hear about it, because we have interpreters. Because one of the things that's the same between these two guys is they didn't write it down. So they left it upon others to write down what they were saying. So we have two fundamental ideas or messages about Jesus. One from Paul and one from Mark. Matthew and Luke copied Mark. Mark was rejecting what Paul was saying, and Paul was rejecting what Jesus was saying. And John tried to save Paul by mixing Paul in. So two fundamental differences, Mark and Paul. Paul made up a whole bunch of shit about belief. Mark emphasized the idea of understanding. Modern Christianity is based on Paul. Equally, Socrates taught philosophy, but didn't write anything down. So we have two interpreters of him, Plato and Aristotle. Aristotle is to Socrates as Paul is to Jesus. Completely the opposite. But also, modern Christians follow Paul. Someone who liked to throw rocks at Christians until they died. Paul was a son of a bitch. And he said, oh, forget all that stuff Jesus says. I'm better. Here is my teachings. Jesus is the Son of God, not a Son of God. Son of God is literal. It's not a metaphor to talk about a state of mind called pure being. And a whole bunch of other stuff we covered in the book. Mark tried to reject that, emphasize the role of understanding. Now, Aristotle does a similar thing. Modern philosophy is Aristotle. Aristotle said, oh, well, philosophy is a personal thing, a particular thing. Your philosophy, my philosophy, Kant's philosophy, Trump's philosophy, etc. Bollocks. Socrates says, no, it's just the philosophy. It's the path of wisdom through understanding. Two aspects. Using understanding to ask questions with the guidance of our dream master to uncover our unsuspected false beliefs that keep us in ignorance. Formally, that's called philosophical midwifery, and we do read that on the book about that on this channel. And then using that freedom from your false beliefs that reject self-reflection and understanding, use that freedom to cultivate self-reflection, or ousia in the Greek, and logos or understanding, to understand through the use of analogy by solving puzzles, like in a video game, to uncover the understandable and knowable, intelligible, rational pattern of the cosmos that leads you all the way up to mind itself, or out of the physical world of becoming into the eternal, pure consciousness realm of being. That's the Enlightenment experience, or the brilliant light of being that both Jesus and Socrates had. Now, they had different reactions to it, and that's what makes them different. And Socrates is saying, hey, by the way, that brilliant light of being is the cause for suns in metaphor, absolutely. The suns in our physical world. But that brilliant light of being has a cause. So the fundamental analogy or ratio within Socrates' philosophy is the self, or the good, is to the brilliant light of being, pure beauty, the highest words we need to describe it because it's the highest experience, beauty itself, justice itself, as the brilliant light of being is to suns in our universe. That's what we're up to. And he said, hey, by the way, understanding how to solve allegories or myths by finding analogies, just like the sun is to being as being is to the self. That's the highest analogy, but it goes all the way through. Your relationship to your parents are like the relationships to your friends or your partners. There's an analogy. Developing your understanding by finding how to solve symbols, metaphors, and analogy in your dreams is the guide to solving your problems and reaching your excellence. It's also a development of understanding, and it's the cultivating of that understanding that is your inner development that comes for the condition, creates the condition for gaining a vision of ultimate reality. What Socrates is saying. Now, I've just given you a basic summary of the first 76 pages, so there's a lot there. But if you're interested, you can go back through the old videos, or you can read the text yourself, and you can piece a lot of that together. Metaphor means to bring over, and begs the question, to bring over from where? That's what we like. We like questions. Phrasing your ideas or insights or puzzles or problems as questions means you can share it with others in this channel, and they're probably going to be similar to our own insights or puzzles. And to carry a question is to be on a quest. And we have a sack of questions and a sack of hypotheses, ifs. Now, we don't know yet because knowledge is in that ultimate vision of reality. So the best understanding we're cultivating is still a hypothesis. So we don't have to pick one. I am a Christian. I am a Muslim. No. You've identified with a hypothesis. You're going to cut yourself off at the knees. Carry a bunch of hypotheses in our inventory, in our if sack. Carry a bunch of questions in our Q sack, in our inventory, and take it with us as we develop our ability to think through wondering about analogies and metaphors, particularly about our false beliefs we don't know we have, unsuspected false beliefs, and our highest use of understanding to know the brilliant light of being. Carry those questions, carry those ifs, share them with our friends, because it's, if you're sharing a question, you're on the same quest. So you have fellow party members on the quest of man.
You're a wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry, because this is the quest for everyone. The quest of the development of understanding to reach the truth about the mind, not a mind, the mind, and the nature of reality is the quest we're all on. Is being a passive person a bad thing? Oh, I don't know. Can you say more about passive person? See, that's a good question. But if you share it with someone else, they can give you a question like that. What do you mean by passive person? That gives you an opportunity to polish your question up. Like you've got an inventory, you've got a sword, but maybe you can sharpen its blade. Or maybe you can add fire to it, +4 fire. Or you've got a gem and you can polish it up and make it a perfect gem. So by sharing your question, like, what is being a passive person a bad thing? And someone goes, oh, what do you mean by passive person? Or what do you mean by bad thing? Right, you can sharpen it up or polish it up. And the more honed and polished your question is, the easier it is to carry. And if you can carry a question all time, like you never drop it, that's meditation. And if you can carry a question constantly, you go through this process. To have a question is to be on a quest. If you concentrate or focus on that question, concentration over time because you've honed it up nicely, you're sharing it with your friends, you find a smart person, pop a question, see what it does. Can they answer it? Is the question still there? Does the question blow up to a million pieces, or is it still there? If it's still there, keep carrying it. To carry a concentration on that question over time makes meditation. Meditation. Sustained meditation, you can join with your question. So if it's a question about being, like what is the good, what is beauty, what is justice, what is the self, what does it mean to be a good person, like your question? These are things that are joinable because we have the physical world of becoming, the physical world that we see through our physical senses. But we also have philosophy doesn't care about that. We look for the ratio. As the sun is in our world, so too is the brilliant light of being. We want to look at the world of being that we can join with our sixth sense called ousia. That is the capacity of mind to turn around and know itself completely as eternity or pure being. So the words used to describe these, we could say, are the self-ers or the ideas with a capital A, like justice itself, beauty itself, goodness itself. Now, what Socrates is saying, there is another analogy. As the realm of being is the causes and principles and the paradigm for the intelligible laws of our universe, which we need to align our human laws with, otherwise we go extinct. That's where we're headed. So too is there a cause of being, the good self or the one self. And he said, hey, by the way, this is the highest analogy. The ratio of the good is to being as being is to the sun. That's the logos. This analogy, if you really nail down, if you can see this, then you can grasp the intelligible, understandable, knowable pattern, because this is knowing. That's why we concentrate on something about this, because if you can concentrate on something like this, you can end up joining with it. That's contemplation. Contemplation. Sustained concentration on a question. If it's a question about this, that's meditation. Keep holding your, hey, let's watch a football game. No, I've got this question. Hey, let's go watch this anime. No, I've got this question still. I've got to go to work, but I'm going to keep this question whenever I'm doing anything at work. Do you have any opinions on McKenna? Oh, he's a nice guy. Interesting fella. The guy who wrote this book was kind of friends with him. He told me a few interesting stories about his interactions with Terence McKenna. By the way, his whole thing is you can take certain psychedelic drugs to have this experience, but if you have that experience, is it the same as understanding it? Wouldn't you also have to understand that experience? Yes. This is a very central part of the psychedelic attitude towards the world, to entertain all possibilities, never commit to belief. Exactly. Belief always is seen as a kind of trap, because if you believe something, it is forever precluded from believing its opposite. Right, so we also want to recognize that belief is believing someone else, and that comes from your physical senses of the world of becoming. There is something called dianoia, or understanding, that allows you to understand this realm Move this out a bit further. Our job is to use understanding. Understanding follows a structure called the dialectic. There is an art of using understanding to reflect on our problems, to surface our underlying false beliefs. That's called philosophical midwifery. That's how you solve human problems. And we read this book on the channel. You can find the YouTube playlist of that on the YouTube link below as well. Understanding applied to the realm of being is what Socrates is talking about here. That's the spiritual path. You have to do both. Your beliefs will block you from developing your understanding of being. Once you have the experience of yourself as self, or self as eternity, or self or mind itself, then you also want to understand it so you can maintain it and use it as a paradigm or model for justice and beauty in this world. So the left-wingers or progressives who actually want to help and sustain the world and keep our species from extinction, that's what they need to find. Not only that, you can apply understanding to the experience to wonder what caused its experience. That's a progression from philosophy to what Socrates calls philophronesis. So philosophy is studying this, philophronesis is studying that. Because hey, yes, you have the paradigm of beauty and justice. You know how to organize your soul and organize society to have a happy world, happy life. You can use that understanding to solve your problems. So you remove your problems and suffering. You can understand the paradigm to organize your soul once you're free of your problems. But also, you can use understanding to wonder about the cause that's beyond. The greatest words we use to describe this: beauty itself, bliss, justice itself. So therefore, the one self or the good self transcends even description. Doesn't mean it's not understandable. It means there's a puzzle there. And that this is the journey into wisdom and our goal. And wisdom is understanding and knowing this. And our final goal, or our purpose, or our highest destiny is to know the self. And you're right, beliefs keep us trapped here. The difficulty is, a lot of people say, well, I get that, but not my beliefs, not my religion, not my upbringing, not my parents. My dad was so smart and my mother was a saint. That's the difficulty. So in this book, not only are we learning the quest of man and what philosophy really is, we're also trying to find all of the different human responses to what we just said. Some people will reject it and get mad. That's anti-Semitic. That's anti-Catholic. That's anti-American. Fuck you. Some people will go, oh yeah, that makes sense. But they'll just take a little bit of understanding and they'll just add it to the beliefs that they already have. Some will pretend to be using understanding, but they're just like somebody said, there's a guy, Peterson, who pretends to be scientific, but he's just using that to just speak about his racist and sexist Christian beliefs. But then obviously the best kind is to let go of belief-based thinking, cognition, and fully embrace the new age. Evolving from, this is from caveman times, blindly believing your cave leader and blindly believing everything inside cave good, everything outside cave bad and scary. That's what fascists prey upon. That's why Trump isn't a Catholic or a Christian, but he uses Christians as his base because they are trained to think in terms of belief, or caveman. Or you could even say they're zombies because the belief keeps you stuck in a pattern. You can only say certain things and do certain things like a zombie. And it's a virus. It takes your energy. And you don't have it. It has you. That's from caveman days before we had ousia, self-reflection, and logos, understanding. So if we were afraid of leaving the cave, then we survived until we learnt to think. Now that's where we have to evolve out of our savage roots, caveman, barbarian, which is sexism or racism, or the brown people are different and scary, and Fox News tells me that they're the cause of problems. Now the real problems is that you're being grifted. Trump is stealing all your money and your resources and hurting people and setting up concentration camps and genociding Palestinian children, actively harming you, but the MAGA never ever reflect on themselves. That's Usia. They never ever use evidence and reason. That's understanding. Blind belief that everything different is bad and scary. That's caveman. That's belief cognition. Now the thing is, it's easy to see with MAGA or religious fundamentalists, but we all have that. We all have our own pathologos that we are all literally as human beings here to surface, understand and remove through understanding in the dialectic. That's called philosophical midwifery. And then we use that freedom to develop wisdom and reaching our final goal of knowing the self. That's philosophy, the upward movement philosophy. People's beliefs act as a raft so they can float on the scary waters of reality. That's the thing. Are you able to be okay with not carrying anything that you think is safe? It's not real safety. It's familiar. It's comfortable. And that's the first stage of development that Socrates has been talking about in this book. Can you go from pathologos, ignorance, where you think you know stuff you don't, ignorance, that's the apparent safety, into the beginning of your evolution, philosophical ignorance, or what he calls being stung, where you realize you don't know, but you're okay with it. I mean, you're all lost at sea, like you're in the middle of the ocean and a stingray has stung you and you can't move, you can't talk, you're all out at sea, but that's actually a high state. Stung. Because then you can read the books that we're reading on this channel to collect right opinions. You look for analogies. Where is he giving you some analogies but not filling out the rest of them? Then you fill out the rest of them. Where is he giving you a list but not ordering it? You collect the list and you order it. These are all the tropes that are used in video games. I've got all these keys but I don't know the right order. Or I found that there is a gem that goes in this statue and a gem that goes in this statue, but there are these 4 other statues, which probably means I need to find the 4 other gems, that kind of thing. That's what we look for in the text. That's why we look for questions. Look for questions and analogies and lists and myths so we can take the right opinions and organize them. That's understanding, or dianoia. Now we say dianoia because it's not understanding the physical world, it's understanding the principles of the physical world, or being. And that prepares your mind to be open to the experience of knowledge, or nous, which is knowing this, or understanding, you could say, is meditation. Having that experience of joining with being, that's contemplation, or nous. And then, of course, there's the question, if you add logos or understanding to that, what's here? So far he's given us the word the good itself. Adding logos and logos or understanding to that. And he's developing a metaphor or an analogy. Hey, the way this relates to this is like the way this relates to that. So all of this development that human beings go through. Or, to say it another way, Because these are the stages of cognition that represent our development. Or, as this realm of existence, dimension of reality, causes this pure being, pure consciousness, pure mind, so too does that cause the suns or the principles of suns in our world. So if you think about what does the sun do? Creates life, nourishes, needed for growth. So too, the brilliant of light of being is the growth or nourishment for your soul. You can unlock everything you learn about the sun. You can unlock a mystery or an insight into being, which prepares you for the experience. But Terence McKenna says, hey, just do an heroic dose of drugs to have that experience. But if you're not developing your understanding, you won't be able to understand it. You might get afraid and run away, have a bad trip. You might only touch the surface of it. But the thing about using understanding as the spiritual method, you can understand it when you get there. You can see its greater depth. Maybe you can return to it. You can use your understanding of it to help others remove their beliefs in the art of philosophical midwifery. You can understand that you can recognize things about it's a oneness, but everything is perfectly ordered. Justice. It's all perfectly arranged. Beauty. You can use that as a model. And of course, you can maybe go all the way through and wonder what must be the cause of that. This analogy, this is to this as this is to this, Socrates is saying that's fundamentally the logos. As the good is to being, so too is being to the suns. And he says this fundamental analogy is how I would explain what philosophy is in one sentence. That's where we are. We've been doing this book for I think maybe 15 episodes. So that's a half-hour crash course that covers 15 episodes. So hopefully you've got puzzles and not answers, so you can be curious as you read. But also, this is an understanding we've been developing over this channel for the last 2 years. So, and you can find the other texts that we've been reading to come up to this level of understanding on the YouTube page, and you can go through it at your own pace. You can join the Discord if you like, and if you do, you'll get a notification when we go live. So, yeah, we're all at different stages, but that's fine. So the author of the book that we're reading also wrote the book called Philosophical Midwifery, which we also read. And in the first chapter, he talks about conversations with Joseph Campbell, Alan Watts, Albert Ellis, the guy who made cognitive behavioral therapy, L. Ron Hubbard from Scientology, and a few other people. So we joked that he's kind of like Luffy in One Piece. He ran into all of these key figures. But he asked them the same question. Why don't you understand what's going on? Alan, you've had some experiences, sure. You're very inspiring. But why don't you get into the symposium and nail down an understanding? Same thing with Joseph Campbell. Hey, you've looked at in the physical world of becoming, you've seen all of these different cultures which have myths, and you've recognized there is a sameness. There of the many different cultures, there seems to be a sameness in their myths or stories. The next step is to ask the question, what is that sameness, or what is the one, the principle that generates the many? In other words, philosophy. Because philosophy is studying the realm of being. You don't start there, you start being born as a person with your physical senses, developing beliefs from your parents and your society. But if you love learning, philomathesis, which means love of learning. Philos means love. Then you might recognize something. Hey, now for Joseph Campbell, it's the quest for wisdom, the hero's journey. For Alan Watts, it's similar, spiritual experiences. He got into Zen. But as you love learning, but the example that Socrates is using here in this book is beauty, which is also the symposium, his method of development from his female teacher, Diotima. Yes, women can be masters of the logos and can teach people, because Socrates' teacher was a woman. Anyway, once you've realized there are many physical examples of beauty, he says, look, find one beautiful person and then add logos, make beautiful speeches about how beautiful she is. Next, find two beautiful people and then come to realize the beauty that was in one is also the same kind of beauty that's in the other. And then you can come to realize all physical beauty is the same. Then you could be led to the question, what is, if there's a manyness of beautiful things, but you never see beauty itself, you see a beautiful woman walking down the road, or a beautiful streamer on Twitch, but you never see, you only see it as an adjective describing things, many things. Beautiful dog, beautiful painting. So where's the noun? Where did you get the idea of beauty from that you apply as an adjective? Where does beauty exist itself? That question that the author of this book posed to Joseph Campbell, Alan Watts, Albert Ellis, L. Ron Hubbard, Terence McKenna, I expect, and others, is the question from loving of learning to loving of wisdom, or philos, Sophia, philosophy. Beauty itself has to exist outside of the physical world to be the cause and conditions for beautiful things. Can we understand beauty itself? That's dianoia. That's understanding. That's the dialectic. That's the logos. That's what we're learning in the book right now. How do we understand in a certain way that allows us to understand beauty itself here? Similar thing for justice. Hey, do we want a just world? Do we want just cities? Do we want just politicians? Where does justice itself live as a noun? Truth, a similar question. There's true things. It's a true statement that my car is white. It's true that 1 and 1 equals 2. Where does truth come from? That we can apply it as an adjective? Where's the noun? That's the movement from philomathesis to philosophy. And what we're saying is, it's through the use of analogy, looking for, allegories, myths, looking for, what is it? Symbols, metaphors, and analogies, particularly through our dreams and the text that we read here. Socrates' texts that we read, the Balboa translation only, because it's the only real translation. The midwifery book and this book, and your dreams. You can learn to a kind of understanding that you can apply here, using analogy. You don't know this world yet. You can see beautiful things, true things, just things. But can you see how beauty relates to justice, like you're saying? No, truth relates to beauty, or beauty relates to justice. Can you look at that here analogously to wonder about how beauty itself relates to truth itself? or justice itself. It's that use of analogy that opens your mind to experience this. That's philosophy. Aristotle said, oh, no, philosophy isn't that. Philosophy is actually just having beliefs and opinions of the physical senses in the physical world. So Aristotle completely removed metaphysics, which is philosophy. And that's one of the quests we have. How can we share with the world? Philosophy isn't the bullshit you're fed at school. Kant's philosophy and Hegel's opinions and Nietzsche's opinions. Blah. It isn't debating opinions like all of the YouTube channels. Philosophy debate bros. No, it's everyone's quest to wonder, hey, the things that we're most interested in, truth, beauty, justice, where is it? And by the way, this is mind. I have a mind, you have a mind. Same question. There's many minds. What's the mind? And by the way, if it's mine, then we can know it. That's why this is the experience of knowledge. Add some understanding in there, you got wisdom. Which means there must be a movement from philomathesis, loving of learning, to philosophy. So we look for the people who love understanding, have empathy, are generous people, are open-minded people. They're the people that we want to reach out to. Hey, welcome. Thanks for the follow. But then, of course, the people who stay in this game for a while, there's another level beyond that. And it's that relationship. Hey, how did you come into philosophy? Use that as an analogy to awaken an even deeper level, the good self. That's the logos. I gotta run, brother. Thank you for the brief conversation. I'll be sure to tune in and watch previews. Yep. Thanks, man. Thanks for joining. I hope you had fun. I hope you have some questions. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next one. So, here we are in the text. The cultivating of the understanding we've been reviewing with our friend is the inner development that creates the condition for gaining the vision of ultimate reality, or that realm of being. Hooray. So let's keep reading, because this book is a banger. Let's jump in. The sun is coming out. Jesus. Where are you? Where's my... Oops, I'm on the wrong page. That's why. There they are. Jesus. Your way of bringing understanding to truth and enlightenment is very difficult for man to grasp, Socrates. The deep roots of ignorance remain untouched, even after the most profound enlightenment experience. That's the problem of Goku and Naruto's teachers, the pervy sage. Even after you touch the realm of being, that doesn't mean you've addressed your false beliefs. The deep roots of ignorance, which we said were false beliefs, remain untouched even after the most profound enlightenment experience. So there's another thing that can come to our chatter's question about Terence McKenna. Sure, Terence McKenna's thing was psychedelic drugs can, if you take an heroic dose and you get lucky, it's not guaranteed, you might have an experience of the realm of being. But that's not the same as using understanding to remove your false beliefs you still carry. Socrates. There are many who believe we are here to achieve enlightenment experiences. I believe we had a chat about it today in the chat. without realizing there are many different stages of enlightenment. Put that in pink. It's special. Many different stages of enlightenment. It is quite easy to believe, after a penetrating vision into the nature of reality, that one is beyond good and bad. Being bathed in light easily conceals problems. Oh. Equally, one can appear free of problems without having been touched by the more profound spiritual experiences. Okay. The light can conceal problems. You can appear free of problems. But you haven't been touched by the more profound experiences. I agree. Enlightenment gives insight into the nature of reality. It does not give understanding of one's fundamental problems. Oh my God. We say to those people,
too stupid to understand and also refusing to understand.
Exactly. We should highlight that whole line. Enlightenment gives insight into the nature of reality. It does not give understanding of one's fundamental problems. Highlight it. Enlightenment experiences may lessen the power of one's problems. Sounds alright? Without blocking or solving them. Oh, doesn't sound so good. Problems can only be resolved by an understanding that answers. This whole section is a banger. It's just a banger of a paragraph here. How significant would it be for our friend to go back to Terence McKenna or Alan Watts or Joseph Campbell and say, hey, by the way, fellas, problems can only be resolved by an understanding that answers the problem. You might think that you're beyond good and bad, that there are no problems, that your problems are concealed or overcome. But A, you still got your problems, pal. I mean, don't say that. That sounds a bit mean. Friend, you still have your problems, friend. And also, there might be, well, there are more profound spiritual experiences that you haven't yet reached. Thus, the need for understanding. We love understanding. Philodinoir. Problems can only be resolved by an understanding that answers the problem. We are here to solve our problems so that we can be free to pursue the good itself. Now that is a banger of a sentence. If you are wanting to make merch for my channel, put this on a bumper sticker or a stuffy or a fridge magnet or something. We are here to solve our problems so we can be free to pursue the good itself. This has huge implications. We are here for. This is the meaning of life. Everyone. Big deal. The MacGuffin. In movies, there's a MacGuffin. There's some quest you have to solve, like in Tenet. We have to get the pieces of the algorithm. When really, it's not about that. That's a MacGuffin. A ultimate unachievable quest that moves the plot along while you really explore the real thing the movie's here to explore. Now, the standard MacGuffin is the meaning of life or the Holy Grail. Implied, you can't really get it. No one knows what the meaning of life is. Well, now we do. We have nuked the MacGuffin. Don't confuse a MacGuffin for a turducken, where you have a turkey and a duck and a chicken. When you nuke a turducken, you make a tasty meal. When you nuke the MacGuffin, the literary device that you presume is the highest goal but can't really be solved, you find the meaning of life. Do you want a lovely Thanksgiving meal, or do you want the meaning of life? The implications here are, he's not saying we're here to solve our problems and pursue the good itself. It presumes that the purpose we are here for is primarily to solve our problems, which implies that if we do solve our problems, we've met the conditions for our development, no longer reincarnating into this dimension, which implies you can pursue the good from the realm of being, which makes sense. If you upgrade to higher dimensions, you might not have reached the good itself, but you might be able to, like they say in the Phaedo, Socrates says, separating the soul from the body allows you more ideal conditions to do philosophy. You don't have to worry about getting hungry or taking a piss. You're out of your body. You can just focus more. Sexual urges. We talked about that earlier. Now, the implication being, the purpose of being a human being in a physical body might be the ideal conditions for facing physical problems that itself are mythologies, are analogies of the problem we're here to solve. Our problem plays out in our dreams, our thoughts, our relationship to ourselves and others. Our problems are far more prevalent than Enlightenment experiences. All of which points to this. We are here for midwifery. We're here to solve our problems. Our pursuit of the good, you can do from the idea of the good. If the movement from the realm of being to the good, you could have from the realm of being. But our beliefs, our pathologos that we have from experiences in our childhood are in the world of becoming. And he said, hey, look, these light experiences can obscure your problems or make you think that you've solved your problems, but will A, not solve your problems, but also, without understanding, you might only reach this level of being, and there are all these other levels that you're not touching, and this whole dimension up here. But if he's the sentence implies we are here to address our pathologos, so we are free to pursue the good. Meaning if we can separate from our body or from reincarnation, we can continue to pursue our good. But the purpose of becoming incarnated in human form is specifically to address our pathologos, which you can't do here. And that might be why people who've had enlightenment experiences obscure their problem. They think they've solved their problem. Because it's harder to deal with problems here because you have a level of freedom from it. What is it? You lessen the power of your problems. See, formerly we've been saying the meaning of life is to A, remove pathologos, B, develop understanding, required to do that, of course, and C, go through all to reach the good. But this sentence means, well, really, it's just these two. Develop an understanding necessary to remove your problems. Go from beliefs to understanding, which gives you the freedom to pursue the good either in this life or the next. So we've refined the meaning of life. We've polished up our Turducken. Got it nice and shiny. Put some spices on there, rub those spices in. Get a hot sauce, put some hot sauce on there, rub the hot sauce in too. Makes sense. A bit neater, and really emphasizes the need for midwifery. So, earlier we were talking with a chatter about some ideas they had about sharing little insights that he is getting from this channel. He says, well, maybe my understanding isn't good enough to like do it justice. And one of the ideas that came up in that reflection is, well, what if it's more important not to do this well, but to surface the blocks you have to trying to do it? Because the meaning of life might not be about excellence and communicating the good. The concern was, what if I don't fully communicate the good, so I do a little bit of bad or a little bit of damage? Well, maybe the goal isn't to fully master the good. The goal here as a human being is to surface the beliefs that prevent you from doing this activity, trying and developing, because solving your pathologos problems is even more important than reaching the good as a human being, because that's why we're here. So that was one of the ideas that we were playing with, and that sentence seems to back it up. We are here to solve our problems so that we may be free to pursue the good. My hypothesis is either in this life or the next. Or both. But this is primary. Makes sense. Okay, Jeebus. Come back, Jeebus. Where are you, Jeebus? In my heart. Okay, Jesus comes in. The role of understanding is essential to us both. Right? From Mark, not Paul's crap. I am reminded of Mark's repeated urging to understand. It is so important to the spiritual life and the quest for wisdom. There are not many sages who delve as deeply as you or your followers have into the issue of ignorance. It plays a major role in your own philosophy, doesn't it, Socrates? Yes. True it is, Jesus. My philosophy is a love of wisdom. And it reaches a peak experience in that luminous light of being. It brings the soul of the seeker to understand why that experience marks not the ultimate, or understand why what? Why that experience is not the ultimate, but the penultimate. Penultimate is a fancy word that you use to impress your friends. It means second last. The penultimate point of their spiritual life. Reflecting what we were talking about in our review, This is the second before this. Yet without that vision, there could never be that fundamental insight into the presence of justice and goodness at the core of reality. Okay, so we talked about the necessity for that experience for organizing our soul and our world. Our laws have to be using this model of justice from that penultimate, second last experience if we want to address, all of the terrible shit and create a wonderful world. But also it would carry with it a recognition that you're not living in a cruel world or an indifferent world or a nihilistic world. There's a fundamental fairness and goodness at the core of the reality that we're in. That might be significant for you or for anyone to recognize. I did try to make it clear to those who seek both understanding as well as that experience, remember, both for wisdom, that our guiding analogy is simple enough. It all starts with light and ends with light. For as the divine luminosity brought forth the fiery sun, so too the good itself reflected as that divine luminosity of pure being that has been called the idea of the good. Starts with light and ends with light. Well, we see the light of pure being, the luminosity, and the light of, the fiery sun. But does that imply there's a kind of light in the good, if that's the start? Huh. And, well, that would mean, the highest kind of visible light is the sun. The highest kind of intelligible light is pure light of being. Is there a different kind of luminosity or light that transcends experience because being is the height of experience? What kind of light would be beyond experience? I don't know. But if you do have that experience of the brilliant light of being, you could compare it to the difference. How difference does looking directly at the sun? What's the difference between that and that luminosity experience? So obviously the luminosity would be way different and better. Take that difference and apply it again to luminosity, and that would be how much greater the light is of the good or the self. Would be the implications of that simple ratio that he's given us. That's pretty neat. Anyone in the chat or in the Discord, please, if you have pulled that stunt off, had that luminosity experience, compared the difference between the sun, applied that difference to the luminosity experience to awaken a, well, it's not an experience, let's say recognition of the different kind of light of the good that transcends equally that divine luminosity. If you pull that stunt off, please join the Discord and share logos, put words on it, and maybe benefit the rest of us. Let us know if it works. And what the other light, how would you describe a light that's beyond description? Sound fair? Jesus comes in. How far until the chorus comes back? Oh, here we go. 61 for the chorus. Where are we? $56. Got a little bit longer. As peaks are few, valleys are many. Ooh, metaphor there. As the meadows are to the grass and trees, so they reflect a mystery to unearth. The heights are splendid, but most turn to confusion and bitterness as they face their human problems. Peaks are few, those two, the penultimate and ultimate Enlightenment versions. But valleys are many, lots of human problems. As the meadows are to the grass and trees, and as meadows are to grass and trees, so they reflect a mystery to unearth. What the hell does that mean? I don't know what that means. There's more grass than there are trees, I suppose. There are more blades of grass than there are trees in the meadow. The heights are splendid, tall trees, but most turn to confusion and bitterness as they face the many blades of grass of human problems. Yes, the drunken sage, the pervy sage, the angry sage, The guy at the ashram or the Zendo who's a bitter curmudgeon, but apparently has had enlightenment experiences. Or the Terence McKenna's, Joseph Campbell's, and Alan Wattses of the world who run away when faced with a question about understanding from Pierre Grimes. They might have had those heights of insight or enlightenment experiences, but when turned to confusion of addressing these philosophical questions or their underlying problems that they haven't addressed, they run away. Or maybe get mad. I don't know if you get mad at Pierre. I guess you can. Socrates. Each person has reached his height. Each height allows a vision whose scope is limited by its very height. The expression of that vision is the reach of the mind. It is that which the mind of each has come to realize as his vision. Each person is an expression of the truths he has brought together in a unity. We live it and defend it. The willingness to share in an encounter with someone who is willing to share their most fundamental vision naturally challenges your own vision as it does theirs. At least to the extent that they are willing to participate with you in a review of their views. Just saying, share in the Discord. Surely this is a challenge, for the review tests the understanding and truth of such views. The willingness to engage in dialogues that seek for the truth of one's vision turns upon itself and perfects it. We're just getting an avalanche of banger lines today. This perfection is the perfection of the understanding towards the unfolding of a deeper truth. Oh man, I can't highlight everything. Well, we'll have to. The perfection is the perfection. So, having a vision, review the vision, share your vision with good people you find here. Open, generous, truth-seeking people. And if you're willing to review it, that review perfects the vision through dialogues. The perfection is the perfection of the understanding towards the unfolding of a deeper truth. Oh my God, you go deeper. And through truth itself, and though truth itself is elusive, it is always worth the effort to draw her out. Wow. How about that for a sentence? That goes on the Etsy store. Truth itself is elusive, but it's always worth the effort to draw her out. I test myself and anyone I meet who is willing to engage with me. So that's another thing, willing to engage. That's that question. Who do we do it with? He says he tests everyone. He's like a gadfly. So maybe this dialogue and deeper testing is with a few, whereas the popping a question with charm and humor maybe is for everyone. I don't know, I'm still working that out. I test myself and anyone who is willing to engage with me in the discovery of what it is we truly understand. Discovery of what it is we truly understand about ourselves and this reality we engage in. Wow. Wow. Discovery of what it is we truly understand. So understand. Let's undo this. Discovery of what it is we truly Understand is the key word yet again. About ourselves and the reality we engage in. The ideas of life and death, the divine and human, wisdom and ignorance, are the ideas I am drawn to and are perfected in exploring with others. Interesting. You gotta talk about it. You gotta share it. You gotta risk it. Thus you see, when I hear there are wise men and women in my area, I seek them out so that I can test again the clarity of my vision and the truthfulness of the ideas I have come to. Now, I'm in Australia, so my area, there aren't a lot of these people. But I do have internet, so I do a little bit of testing, I suppose. If I hear there are wise men and women in my area, I seek them out so that I can test again the clarity of my vision and the truthfulness of the ideas I have come to. You can see my talks are Logos meditations. Oh, we've just been talking about meditations today. Since they always weave within them the mystery of the Logos and how it unfolds its truth in our every gesture, thought, perception, and act. My talks are Logos meditations. The talks weave within them the Logos, the mystery of the Logos. So by talking with people who are open, good, kind, truth-seeking people, you can test your ideas and your visions with them. It perfects yours and theirs. And what is weaved within such talks is the mystery of the Logos. How do we come to how is it in this crazy world of upside downness a lot of the time we can still come to understanding? We're still learning, we're still growing, we're still getting insights, we can still talk, we can still connect. There is still beauty in people, there is still justice in people and in reality. And how the Logos unfolds its truth in our every gesture, thought, perception, and act. This is maybe a key to that puzzle. Even if people are not open and curious enough and generous enough to engage in dialogue, they are still having gestures, communicating their thoughts, having some kind of perception and action you can perceive. So they are still unfolding their Logos. Maybe that can be a meditation. Are they expressing their Logos? Can you help them by popping a question? Or maybe you can't, and it's better just to smile, nod, and walk away. And those who are open and curious, are you going to move quickly like a rogue or a thief? Build? In that the Logos can express something in every gesture, every thought, every perception and act. What the heck does that mean? I don't know. I'm completely stung. Today's a Saturday for me, which means a music day. So I am going to carry these questions about who do we share with? How much do we share with? What does it mean that our talks are Logos meditations? How do we maybe encourage the most open, like there are a lot of people come along with certainty, especially after a few beers, But how do we encourage openness and curiosity? How do we encourage people to share their highest visions? How can we engage together and not debate opinions? And how can we meditate on the Logos no matter where we find ourselves, no matter who we find ourselves with? Because even if they're not the best kind of people that we look for, the wise men and women that we try and connect with as best we can, even if they're not those, maybe the Logos is still unfolding to us. Maybe their mind isn't open to it, but maybe we can have a mind open to Logos at all times if what we're reading is true, that the Logos is permeating all of reality on every level. It's all pervasive, meaning every moment, every gesture, every thought, every perception, every act is a mystery of the Logos and how it's unfolding to us and for us, for our perfection in understanding, to solve the problems of our beliefs that you can only solve through understanding it and answering it, but also solve the mystery of our higher self, mind, and reality in a way that can open us to a direct vision of it and of the Logos itself. Wow. I'll be wondering about that all day today, and when I'm playing music later on tonight, I hope you're wondering about it, and I hope you have some wonderful dreams, and I hope you record them. Even if you haven't yet learnt the language or haven't yet reflected on the significance of dreams, to see that it might reflect the drama of your dreams, might reflect the drama of your relationship with yourself and with others. Even if you haven't seen that yet, record it anyway. And hey, maybe your dreams will give you insight into these questions if you decide to take the quest and carry this question along with me too. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh, we had key players today. This was the mighty horse of the state, and this was the best person in the state, the gadfly that was Socrates. Take a bow. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next one.